Hi, good morning, it's Gene from Maverickstar Observatory. During the course of this video we're going to be looking at the Earth itself at a glance and using some of the equipment that we record the data on. We're going to go over just a few of those things. Before we do that, I'd like to say a big thank you to the few that have been supporting us. The numbers have dropped a little bit despite us already expanding the observatory possibly within the next few weeks with another magnetometer. I'll mention the location of where that's going as soon as I get confirmation of that, but we have already expanded the observatory already this year with an extra Muon detector, which is, as you know, if you've been following, gone out to Canada, and that is to monitor the intensity rates which are depleting over that region, and it should give us an idea as to whether there is a large increase over time as it depletes in muons or not. What we do here at the observatory is use the scientific method, and the way in which we do that is by putting recording equipment such as muon detectors, magnetometers, and obviously here in the UK we've got the TriMag as well, which monitors every 3 seconds the position of the magnetic North Pole and the rate at which it's migrating. So by using the scientific method we get an accurate account of how the Earth is changing with the anomalies that we are focusing on. And you might say to yourself, well, some people might say, well, why is it so important? Well, none of the big organisations like NASA and the European Space Agency have denied the fact that the Earth since the 1900s has begun to go into a magnetic pole reversal. The last time, as you guys know, I've said this many times, how long ago it was that the Earth went through a completed reversal. It was 780,000 years ago, and therefore it has been 500,000 years overdue, based on the fact that before the last reversal it used to go through a reversal every 300 or 350,000 years or thereabouts. So there's something quite different this time around, and the other important feature about this reversal is that it has never been recorded before, and we are recording it at quite a resolution of when you talk about it every 3 seconds. I've been criticised in the past that perhaps that is a little bit too much, but during the course of when it accelerates, that may be 2.5 years away, when the dipole over the northern hemisphere hits the 40-degree mark. When it starts to accelerate, I don't think a 3-second resolution is too much. I think it's going to give us a great account of what actually takes place. For the first time, humankind will be able to record it, and it will be done at this observatory, and the information that we get will be given to you guys out there. This has only been made possible by like-minded people that share some of the enthusiasm to this rare anomaly that's taking place, that have dedicated a bit of financial support for the observatory. And we have struggled last year, I will say that, and over the Christmas with funding, but there are always a few people which never cease to amaze me in standing by the observatory and making sure that we have at least a little bit of funding to tick over. I would like to raise more money so we could build more equipment and get a better resolution of what is taking place all over this world, and the only way we can do that is by increasing the funding that we get at the observatory. So hopefully during the course of this video you may have been encouraged based on what you've just heard to support us, but not only that, guys, we do look at other things. We have added other things to our observatory recently. One of them is the Earth health at a glance, as we're looking at right now. We cover things like atmospheric CO2, and it's something that's in the mainstream media quite a lot, because it is blamed, the man-made CO2 that has been added to the atmosphere, as a cause of what used to be described as global warming, but now is more commonly associated with the terms from these mainstream medias and organisations as climate change, as you may be already aware. But there's a lot of misconception with the amount of CO2 that is currently in our atmosphere, has been in our atmosphere in the past and is likely to be in our atmosphere in the future. And it is important that I think we cover that and at least give an accurate and honest account of how much CO2 in parts per million is in the atmosphere. As you can see from yesterday's recordings, there was 431 parts per million. It may seem when you're watching the media, oh, we've crept it over the 400 mark in so many years, and this is humans' fault. We're causing devastation on this planet as a result of putting more CO2 into the atmosphere. We are changing the climate on the planet, and like I say, there is a lot of misconceptions. Right now, if you're in your home in a living room and you're in there on your own, the parts per million in CO2 would be probably over 1,000 right now, and yet you're not dizzy, your judgment isn't clouded, and you don't feel sick or nausea or anything like that. And what they tell us is that when we go out into the outside, when we leave our homes, that we should be concerned that the CO2 levels in parts per million are over 400. It's not the case. We shouldn't really be concerned at all, because we could drive up CO2 levels to 1,500 parts per million. It wouldn't affect our health, and it wouldn't certainly affect the biodiversity on our planet, and I doubt very much it would also affect the climate in any big way. You see, CO2 has been labelled a greenhouse gas, but there is a more abundant greenhouse gas which is never mentioned coincidentally in the argument of climate change, and that is water vapour, H2O, another trimolecule that when has radiation interfere with it, vibrates and jostles in just the same way as CO2 does. So we shouldn't really be concerned of rising CO2 levels. What we should be concerned of, and I do believe is more the case of what is driving the climate on our planet, is the rise in cosmic radiation. And this has been as a result of twofold things. First of all, the grand solar minimum. You may have heard of over the last 33 years, of the last 311 solar cycles, the sun has had a very low output of sunspots in those cycles, and in turn, when we look at the chart over the last 33 years, you can see it is almost exponential, the decrease. And it's alarming, because when we have low solar output in sunspots, our heliosphere, which is arrived from the sun, which usually stretches past beyond our solar system, shrinks, and in turn allows more cosmic radiation inbound into our solar system, and therefore is able to interact with our upper atmosphere. The secondary component of climate change, which I believe is more the case, is to do with this magnetic reversal that that is taking part right now, right as we speak, because in turn it weakens our magnetosphere, which is a lot like the heliosphere, which protects our solar system, only it's our primary defense against cosmic radiation. And over a series of many years, it has now been proven to have depleted to around about 20%. So we are now living in a time where we receive 20% less protection from cosmic rays, and then whatever on top of that as a result of the grand solar minimum. And as a result, we get more radiation inbound in our upper atmosphere in the form of cosmic rays, and cosmic rays form cloud seeding platforms, which in turn creates more precipitation in the jet streams, and the jet streams begin to malfunction. This is what we've seen, and this, in my point of view, is more to do with driving the climate than anything else that we've seen. We've seen super jet streams form, we've seen the polar jet streams and subtropical jet streams, both over the northern and southern hemisphere, change dramatically, and in frequency interact with each other. And when these interact with each other, you get warm air mixing with cold air, and cold air mixing with warm air, both over the northern and southern hemispheres. And depending on the longitude and latitude of the jet stream over those continents depends on whether we get flash floods or droughts, or once in recorded history sub-zero temperatures, or other variants of climate disasters. We're seeing the effects of this now, because it is something that is changing the way agricultural production, which has been normally done over the last 50 years using moderate technology. We use more technology now, but nevertheless, regardless of the technology we have, we are still struggling to gauge what climates we're going to have throughout the year. And as a result of that, some locations around the world are going, as has been described, offline, which means good arable growing cropping land is no longer usable because of the unpredictability of the climate in that region. Another thing we monitor is atmospheric CO2, because of the concerns that we come across whilst talking about some of these anomalies on our channel on YouTube. One of them was, is the oxygen depleting? So, we set ourselves the task of purchasing a state-of-the-art Luminox sensor, which is used in military and commercial aircraft all around the world. It's a very highly accurate oxygen detector, and we programmed that and built it, and every week or so we take a reading of the atmospheric oxygen. It does change like the CO2, but only marginally. We do have a very large reservoir of oxygen in our atmosphere, and it's not really something that we should be really concerned about, unless, like I have said before, unless we started to see it double in rates or triple in rates. Then we could also, we might be concerned that the atmosphere is becoming potentially ignitable, and that would end all life on Earth. But thankfully, the levels of atmospheric oxygen have remained stable for many thousands of years. Next, we've got the latitude and longitude of the position of the dipole over the northern hemisphere, and we get that readings from our TriMag system here in the UK. And like I've said, we monitor this 365 days a year at a resolution of 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds we take another reading. So you can imagine, over the last 3 years of running the TriMag, how much data we have already on the magnetic North Pole. Another thing we take a reading on is the background radiation. Again, something which doesn't change much, but will do if we continue to see low solar output, because they will in turn allow more cosmic radiation and background radiation as well into our atmosphere. And of course, if the magnetosphere continues to weaken, we will also see an increase in that cosmic radiation, which will in turn drive up the background radiation. We also keep a monitor on the volcanoes in eruption. It's down one volcano that is in eruption from last week. The reason why we're interested in volcanic eruptions, and we focus solely on the ones that are erupting as a benchmark, not the ones that are showing signs of eruption or are outgassing, or only the ones that are in eruption are what we're interested in, because that gives us a good indication of the solidification of the the liquid core of our planet is still healthy and liquid. And if we started to see these numbers drop off rapidly, we would be concerned about whether the fact or not the Earth was starting to begin to solidify in the core, because this would shut down obviously the magnetosphere, probably permanently, as it did do on Mars. That would then in turn remove our protective primary protection, the magnetosphere, and in turn sterilise the planet, and we'd probably lose not just our atmosphere, but like Mars did, the water on its terraform as well. We cover the largest magnitude of earthquake, to give you an idea of what is going on in terms of earthquakes. As you can see, this is only within the last 24 hours. We don't keep a regular changing data base on that. We just at the time of taking the readings off all the equipment that we've got, we go over to USGS, have a look at the largest magnitude over the last 24 hours and add that there. The muons per hour per square metre is another bespoke piece of equipment, which recently we have added to our arsenal over the last I think now 12 months. We've built the muon detectors, and now we're starting to put them out into the field. We get readings from Perth, Australia, and within the next coming weeks we are going to start getting readings from Canada. And you know, this is something that we're really interested in, because we know there are collisions in our upper atmosphere with cosmic rays and other molecules and atoms within our upper atmosphere, and as a byproduct result we get these muons. And what we're expecting, as things begin to decline in magnetic intensities over certain regions of the Earth, and you know, the magnetosphere starts to weaken further, you know, what we will see is an increase in the rate of muons, and also background radiation. We keep an idea, we keep also an idea, a look on the sunspots, the geomagnetic field, and the solar X-rays, because we're interested in the condition really of the heliosphere. If the sun continuously puts out no sunspots, we know that over a period of time the heliosphere will weaken and more radiation will come inbound. We also you know, look at the jet streams on our planet, and you know, we know as a result of the inbound cosmic rays into our upper atmosphere, how they have modified the jet streams, that some have become unstable. One of those regions, you know, over the northern hemisphere, where one of the regions of magnetic intensity is becoming unstable, is Canada, and that is why we've sent out not just a magnetometer but a muon detector to keep an eye on how things are going in that region. But there are a couple of other regions we want to get, hopefully this year, into. One will be Brazil, the other one would be Russia, but they have proven very difficult to do so to date. But I'm confident we will this year have magnetometers in other regions of the Earth, and we will also have muon detectors in other regions, as well as you know, a wider range of what's going on our planet with regards to the whole intensity. It gives us you know, a better resolution of what is taking place. So that's what we cover with the Earth Health at a glance, and you know, a few other things that we do at the observatory. On or around about the 17th of this month, we'll be pulling the data from the Trimag and the magnetosphere sensor here in the UK, and plotting the latest position of the magnetic North Pole. So join us then. And the only other thing to say is, you know, guys, we really could do with some support, and if you are, you know, sharing the enthusiasm with us, and you're interested in the topic and you'd like to support what we do here at the observatory, you know, the links are down there. It is important that we do raise money here at the observatory, because without it, you know, we can't send these pieces of equipment around the world, we can't run the observatory, and we certainly can't build any more pieces of equipment. So that is what we do, and I've got to say, you know, we've done really well to date. You know, with what we've had at our dispersal, we've done a great job. You know, I'd just like to see it continue into 2021, and you know, if we can possibly do it up to 2030. We may have already by then witnessed the magnetic poles go into those weak field lines where they migrate. So with that, guys, I'm going to say the links are down there. You can come onto the website, you'll see that there's a link on there on most of the pages where you can donate. Very few people do for some reason on the website, I don't know why that is, but nevertheless the links are in the description down there in this video. And you know, there's only one other thing to say, and that is, guys, take care of your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.